and it'll take about a minute to lay out as always before people show up. Just YouTube and their quirkiness, but we'll get her going. So we should be live about now, I believe.
Yep, that popped up on my phone.
So now it'll just be the delay of everybody else getting in here.
There it is. Popped up on my tablet.
Perfect. Let people get in.
Probably so fix the delay here.
It's a delay, dude. It's gonna be behind because of OBS. It's the software I use. It's just you gotta work with it.
And yeah, it's about 10-12 seconds.
Yeah, I mean I had it on low, whatever they call it, but I don't know. It still doesn't always help. So, all right, let me get this shared out too. It shows we got 6 people. I don't see anybody chatting yet. Here we go. There's William Carter, guys.
William.
There you go.
Balls.
All right.
Jim.
How's the sound, guys? Talk, Quados. Talk a little bit. Just say what's up or whatever.
What's up, guys? How's everybody doing today?
How's the sound, guys? For Quados. Not for me, for Quados. Because we always have a problem with the guest to start. Does it sound good? A little low? Good enough? Be a little louder? Sound
Looks
is good?
Clear, good.
Awesome. That's what we want to hear. All right, guys, we're going to get right into it. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of In Depth with Defness. Tonight, joining me, I have a special guest, also a friend, Quados Corner, Justin, or I should have said Justin, also known as Quados Corner. How you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm all right, man. You know, we got Turkey Day tomorrow or Thanksgiving tomorrow. So first, I guess we want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. You guys will actually be able to catch me live in the morning talking my DFS plays, which the slate got ugly because they just canceled that Baltimore and Pittsburgh game. So I took 2 teams away. So we got a 2-game slate. It's going to get a little interesting. But other than that, we're good. You ready to get in depth, Justin?
Yeah, I am. I didn't know that Pittsburgh game was canceled.
It got canceled at like 1 o'clock, noon or 1 o'clock this afternoon. They canceled it. They moved it to Sunday. It's a Sunday game now because
that'll work then.
Of the 9 or 19 players or whatever. But still, it was like our primetime evening Thanksgiving game. Now we're gonna have a noon game and a 3:30 game, 3 o'clock game. So it is what it is. But all right, we'll get back into it. Are you ready to get in depth? You say?
I'm ready to roll, man. Let's do it.
All right, Quados or Justin. Hey, man. I first want to kind of just go back to the childhood. Let's kind of paint a picture of your life, kind of the story of you, if you will, tonight. So I want to kind of start with just the younger years, the childhood, growing up. What was it like for you? Did you have a good household? You know, were you guys struggling to get by? What was that like in those days?
We had, so I'm from northern Minnesota, Duluth area. And up there back then there was the steel plant. They still have the iron range, the iron ore mines. Yep. And everything was good. It's, these days, my parents, out of all my friends, my parents were the only ones left that were still married.
Wow.
I got like three people out of like everybody I know that are still married. So everything was good. I started, my dad was an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
My mom's from New York.
Okay.
And I started playing sports when I was a little kid. Like when I could walk, I started playing baseball.
Yeah, so I would assume probably like 3 or 3rd grade, 2nd grade. Well, you could do before then in baseball because you could play like what do they call it? With the stand, whatever.
Yeah, we didn't have T-ball back then.
T-ball.
And we didn't have pitching machines. And my dad pitched to me. I grew up. Well, so what happened was I'm like 2 years old or 2.5 years old. And my parents always tell me this story. Because my dad loves sports. My dad is a walking encyclopedia for old baseball.
Okay.
And that's where we'll get into me being a vintage collector.
Yeah, yep.
and he knows everything. It's crazy, the useless knowledge that we call it.
Right.
Well, we were sitting in the living room one day, and I'm about 2.5 years old, and he just took a little Nerf ball and he threw it at me to bounce it off my head, and I caught it.
Wow.
And my dad's like, holy crap.
Right? Sign him up.
So,
get him a glove.
So literally from that day, he ran out, got me a little Nerf bat, and he started pitching to me.
Awesome.
And it was literally as I was learning to walk, I was learning to swing.
Jesus. Wow. So you started sports basically when you could start walking.
Right.
What sport? I mean, obviously you brought up baseball. Did you? Obviously, you couldn't play actual football as far as any kind of organization until a few years later. But was there football involved? Was there other sports besides baseball, like in the early years, basically when after you started to learn how to walk and you got through a couple years?
Yep. I started baseball. So back then, we didn't have t-ball, we didn't have pitching machines. It was just you went out and learned how to pitch. I'm sure the games were just awesome to watch, as there's 75 balls to each batter being thrown, because kids are trying to throw the ball 45 feet.
Right.
And I started playing when I was 6 years old, and that was with the 8-year-old team.
Wow.
And then by that time, I could catch, I could throw, I knew the game inside and out. I mean, it was just put in my brain that this is what you're going to do.
Right.
So by the time I was 8 years old, and I should have actually started playing baseball, minor leagues, little league, whatever.
Yeah.
I was already going up to the 10 and 12-year-old leagues, and I just started skipping from there. And by the time I'm 10, I'm playing like the senior league levels.
Wow.
13 to 15-year-old, and I'm starting. I mean, I'm playing.
Yeah.
And I never played junior varsity. I never played. I played one season of American Legion ball as I'm getting older. I mean, in 8th grade, I was starting on our varsity in left field.
So left field was your spot. Left field.
Yep.
I was going to ask that. Like, what positions did you play? Left field was kind of your thing.
As a kid, I played a lot of shortstop, a lot of second base, but then we're like, hey, we need somebody in the outfield who can catch a ball, and who's this kid?
Right.
So then I ended up playing left field the rest of my days, if you will.
Now you played football as well, right?
Or I did. We're allowed to start in 7th grade, and it was we could not wait to play football.
Right. Right.
And that again, all my buddies all had older brothers, so we were always playing pickup games with them.
Mm-hmm.
And we were always told, if you want to get better, you got to play with the older kids and the older people, and you got to go get the shit beat out of you.
Yep.
And it's going to make you a good player.
Yep.
So that's what we did. And we got the shit beat out of us. And then our buddies would say, my buddies' brothers, if you go home and tell on us, you're not playing with us no more. So then we'd sit there, shake it off, and then we'd come back in and play again and get beat up again.
Right. Right. So when you started playing organization, like through organized or whatever, through the cities, through the schools, whatever it might be in football, what position or positions were you primarily playing at that time?
I was a tight end. I was a tight end on offense. I played special team. I never left the field. Played special teams, and I was an outside linebacker on defense.
I kind of figured I was going to say, like, if I were to guess what position Quados would play in football, it would be a linebacker, probably. The build on this guy. The build on this guy. So we're still in the childhood here, Justin. So tell us about, there had to have been a time back in the childhood era for you that you were first introduced to the hobby, sports cards, whatever you want to say or call it. Was there a specific time, a story, something that you can kind of paint a picture of us, a visual of your first interaction with sports cards?
I remember it like it was yesterday. It was the very first pack of cards I ever got was 1981, because I had a little ball cap on them in the corner there.
Yeah.
And this is kind of a cool story. That was also the year that a friend of ours, Jerry Uger, got drafted. He was from my home school, Hermantown.
Oh,
He
wow.
got drafted by the Tigers and is also best friends with Jack Morris. So this is a cool thing. I started collecting in '81, and I would go out to New York every year. My mom is from Buffalo, New York. And I
Okay.
would go out to New York every year, and there's a little corner store down the block.
Mm-hmm.
And I would walk down there. So 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, those were my years that I went and bought cards where, they're 15 cents a piece, a quarter.
Right.
And I would just I'd be sitting at my grandma and grandpa's coffee table, and I had a mess going on already, like I do in my room now.
Right.
And then I'd fly home, take all my cards on the airplane, have to get an extra suitcase.
Did
That was
you?
fun. I remember that.
So as you were buying the sports cards, did you ever have any encounters with garbage pail kids? Like, cause
Never.
84, 85, like 84, 85 was like when the first series 1, series 2 hit. And I always tell people, just a quick little thing I always bring this up when we bring up about walking to a corner store or drugstore. This is before the Jacob Weatherling kidnapping and stuff happened. In my younger years, in the mid
Yep.
'80s, late '80s, I'd bike to Tom Thumb, which was like 2 miles. I'd bike there with as much change as I would have, and I remember not only buying baseball and football cards, but I remember Garbage Pail Kids first being introduced. And man, we all sit back and wish, right, that we still had some of these packs that
Oh,
we bought for a quarter just sitting unopened. If we could only have not been so we gotta just see what's inside and put the bubble gum in our mouth and go through a stack of cards. The nostalgia's all coming back right now as we talk about it. But man, if we could have just put some of that stuff aside, what it could have been, right? So,
yeah.
man, so Justin, anything else like just you want to bring up any crazy story or situation that you had to encounter as a like child? I'm not saying like high school, late teenage years and moving on as you become like a father and stuff. Was there anything that specific that stands out that you would like to share with us from the earlier days, earlier years?
Well, I had a cool thing going back to '81 with Uger being drafted. Him and my dad were very good friends. And I'm sure you've seen before, I've got this Detroit Tigers baseball that Uger gave me
Yeah.
when it was, I believe I was 10 years old. So it had been 83,
Okay.
82, 83. And I got the picture, the old Polaroid of him giving it to me. And back then, and this is awesome, back then when I was a kid, if there was a break and I was playing Little League and playing baseball, Uger and Jack Morris is from Minnesota,
Yep.
they would come back and they'd show me how to pitch. And they'd
Wow.
play catch with me and show me how to throw curveballs and stuff. And when I was in Little League, I was a pitcher also. And back then, you didn't have the rules.
Right.
So in a season, I mean, I would pitch 15 no hitters. And
Oh,
because
wow.
they taught me how to throw a curveball.
Right. And people
Well,
were like, what is
now
this?
that was awesome back then, but now later in life, I
Right.
wrecked my arm.
Yeah, right, right.
And I could throw a little bit. They showed me mechanics. They showed me how to throw exercises. So I'm getting pro coaching at 10 years old. So that was really cool. You go back to school and tell your buddies, "Hey,
Right?
what'd you do this weekend?" I'm like, "Oh, I was playing catch. I like literally had my own personal mini camp all weekend long."
That
And
is,
then obviously they were with the Tigers and they won the World Series in '84, and I was a huge Tigers fan just because of that. And I'm like, how awesome is that as a kid?
yeah.
It's crazy. It's so cool.
Jimmy comes in with the comment of the night. Not that we should be paying too much attention to chat during these, but he says Cueto's a monster on the mound. And we can post that one for comments probably of the night. So childhood, all is good. Plays sports. Starts basically playing baseball when he's learning how to walk. Throwing no hitters like it's nothing for him. He has his own personal training camp whenever he wants to go play catch or play ball. Looks like everything's good for Cueto so far as he's growing up. So let's kind of walk through our teenage years, high school years, getting into our early 20s. What does that look like for Justin? Are we still playing sports? Is sports still in our life? What's kind of going on right here?
Sports was that was my life. That was it. I did nothing. All I did was sports.
And you were
But
doing baseball and football, right? And anything
yep,
else?
no, that was it. I actually in the off season when my buddies wanted me to play basketball and stuff, I wanted to play hockey. We couldn't afford it.
Yeah, they
Um,
call it a rich person's rich family
back
sport.
back then in the early 80s when the steel plant shut down in Duluth, my dad lost his job, so we went from being very comfortable to being on welfare and having
Oh
nothing.
shit.
But back then you didn't need anything.
Right.
We didn't have PlayStations and all this other stuff. I had a football, a baseball, a bat, and a glove,
Right.
and that's all I needed. And I had a bike. So my mom actually bought us an Atari when they came out and for Christmas one year, and she returned it like 2 weeks later because we didn't play it.
Right.
I'd rather go outside and play with my buddies and skate, out in the driveway because we got an ice storm, and we'd go out and play hockey in the middle of the road skating because there was ice. We went outside all the time.
Isn't
We
it?
didn't have cell phones and computers and all that stuff.
And you're a father, and we're gonna get into that. Well, we'll get there. But isn't it just crazy as being a father and having kids and seeing kids these days? How like we always bring that up, and I think we always say that when we're together with families or kids are like, "Oh, I'm bored," or this or that, and they even got their own cell phones and they're 12 years old, right? And it's
I've
like
heard
you
it
guys
10
have
times tonight.
no clue. Like how can you not get creative? I mean, creative. I remember we used to go out and build when we get snow. We get you get the big storms. We get 4, 5, 6 feet of snow. They'd put a big mound in the middle in a cul-de-sac. We'd find the closest cul-de-sac and we'd build a big cave. Like just dig a cave out
Right?
and have a crazy huge cave. And that was what was entertainment. And that was what was fun for us. So man. So yeah,
You'd
going
build
on.
you'd build your forts, and then you'd have a snowball fight with all the
Ex-
neighborhood kids.
exactly. And King of the Hills and you name it. Yeah,
And
so
you had frostbite about 16 times as a kid because you weren't going to come inside because everybody was outside playing. You're going to miss out on it. You had FOMO. I got to get
exactly.
back outside, but my feet are numb.
Exactly. So playing baseball, playing football, you're doing this through high school. Did you did you have any offers at any colleges? Was there pursuit of playing sports after high school?
I had, so I started on my varsity team in eighth grade, and back then, you were only allowed to be a 4-year letter. So I just was like written off as I didn't play. I was
Okay.
kind of hidden, pushed under the table.
Right?
Well, then I was a 4-year letter. I've got a lot of school records still today, and which Jerry Uger had them, and I
Right.
had broken half of his. So
Nice.
him and I basically have 90% of the school records still today. But I went. It was the summer of my junior year. I was all conference, all state, junior, senior year, all conference, sophomore, senior, junior, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And between my junior and senior year, I tried out for the U.S. Junior Olympic team, which would have been 1990, 91.
Yeah,
And I
91.
made the team. I was the only guy from Minnesota. Everybody else was Georgia, Texas, California, Florida, all the warm states.
Yep.
And my coach was actually affiliated with the U here in Minnesota. So I went to some camps down there. We did, I was in the programs, so I was getting noticed.
Yep.
And so I made this team. We found out that there would have been like Minnesota State High School violations because we were going to go to Australia over Christmas break and start like playing scrimmages, and it was some kind of technicality, and it ended up I didn't go. I didn't want to sit out my senior year because that's your big bang, that's your hurrah,
Right.
go out. I'm on top of the world. I'm the man.
Right.
And I'm like, nope, I'm not forfeiting my senior year. I got to play with my friends. I still got some unfinished business to do. We lost out to go to state, and there was a lot of good players back then, a lot of good teams. And after I decided to not do that summer, it was about 2 weeks later, I got the coach. We had started doing some summer ball practices, and the coach pulled me aside and he said, I got a letter here from the Cincinnati Reds. And I'm like, oh, cool. Who's it for?
Yeah, right?
You know? I'm just chilling, and back then it was fun.
Yeah.
I had fun.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, it's for you. You got to go down to, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and you're invited to a tryout. And I'm like, oh, sweet. All right. So I went down there, and the tryout was for the whole week. And as soon as it was crazy, I mean, there was hundreds of people there.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because when you failed one thing, the very first thing they did was you had to run a 60-yard dash, and you had to run it in like 7 seconds or something. I mean, it's for real.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to run.
Right.
Well, right there, a third of the guys went home. I mean, your very first thing of trying out, and you're done. You're going home.
Wow.
Well, I ended up making it through the whole week, and they picked out a bunch of players, and then you scrimmaged. You played 2 games on Saturday, another couple games on Sunday, and then they did like their final cuts. So I didn't know anything. I mean, I'm from northern Minnesota, and I'm down there. I mean, I remember one guy that was really cool was Tim North, and he was a catcher. He was in the Florida Marlins farm system, the Orioles. And I looked at this dude, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy's like 6'5". He's a catcher. He's jacked. But you got to remember, I'm 16 years old,
right?
17 years old, and these guys are men. They've already been in the farm systems. They've been through the minor leagues. They're looking for a shot. They're looking to keep going.
Yeah.
I'm playing with grown men, and I'm like, holy balls, this is it's really cool, but it's really intimidating.
Right. Right.
I'm just a little kid, I'm still trying to. I mean, I was like 6 foot in 9th grade, and I don't know, 175 pounds. I grew fast, and then I just stayed there. I was done. I didn't grow anymore.
Wow.
So that was pretty fun. I did well. The only thing I failed at, I didn't fail, but they wanted 90 miles an hour across the infield, and they actually pulled me in from left field and put me at third base.
Wow.
And I'm like, all right, well, this is kind of scary. I never played third before, and now I'm getting some, piss rockets hit at me, and
right.
You just got to do what you got to do. I don't want to go home. Now I'm into it. Now I'm digging it.
Right.
And I was throwing my elbow across the field. I got up to 89, and that was it. But I was a hitter. I've always been a hitter. And they said, here's some exercises for you to do. We need to get that arm strengthened up. You're going to be invited back here. I don't remember what it was, a few months somewhere else.
Yeah.
And the football season was starting. I go back, and my dad told me, he goes, hey, it's time to give up football. And I love football. I absolutely love football. And the crazy thing about it is, when I played baseball, I never practiced. I didn't care.
Right.
My mindset back then was, I'm already good. I don't need to be good because I'm already the best.
Yeah.
All people kept telling me, oh, you got to practice, well, no, I don't, because I'm good,
Right.
You don't listen, you're a kid, you don't listen. And my dad said, don't play football, leave it be. I'm like, nope, because my best friend was an all-state football player, and him and I did sports together, and I wanted to play football with him. And it was our first week of practice. He lit up a dude, fumble, ball. Him and I were the 2 guys on defense. And I went and I reached out and went to cover a fumble, and somebody came over the back of me, and they sat on my shoulder, and I dislocated my shoulder. And then by the end of the week, I got a letter from the Reds saying, stay home, we don't need you no more.
And your old man said
my
stop.
Football season, pretty much at that point, just away any chance I had at baseball. And I go into my senior year. We do well. I missed half the football season. We did pretty good in football. I trained and stuff and rehabbed and everything else. And during that winter, I had actually we just started baseball, and I had actually gotten another invitation to go try with the Twins.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, all right, cool. So now I was done with football, and I'm like, all right, I got to focus on this baseball thing.
Right.
Now I'm going to focus.
Right.
And I couldn't, my arm never came back. The hardest I've ever thrown since was about 75, and it's just, it ain't going to happen. It's done.
Yeah.
So that was it. That was, now I'm just going to focus on football when I go to college.
Yeah. And so so there was college. That's where we're getting to, right? Did you go, did you play football at college? Or in college?
I did. I went to, so going back to some scholarship offers, I had 35 scholarship offers for Division One, and it was 92 is when I graduated, and that year the Wichita State had won the College World Series, and I had a full ride offer to them. Well, I ended up losing all those because I probably still could have had some. I know the Gophers offered me a half football, half baseball, so it was a full ride, but for both.
Oh, okay.
And that was about the time that my dad started getting sick. And I just decided I'm going to stay close to home because I had never been out of the area before. I never went to the cities.
Yeah.
I mean, going to the cities was like going to Times Square. I was like, holy crap, look at this place.
Right.
I never been down to the cities before. I was like going to a different country. So I just stayed in northern Minnesota and played football, and I was supposed to play baseball. I went to Itasca, and they were ranked in the top 10 at that time in junior college, so I thought this will be a good place for me to go, and they're going to let me play football too.
Yeah.
So that'll be awesome. And that's when I got in trouble. That's where we'll get into some of the career-ending stuff, if you will, and football. I go up there. It's a 2-year college.
Mm-hmm.
I go up there, and I was really training hard. I graduated 185 pounds, and I'm like, dude, you can't go play college football. You need to bulk up and start eating some Wheaties. And I started lifting weights hard. I mean, I trained like a son of a gun. And I went up there, met some guys, and we worked out together and stuff. And we could go to the school and go to the gym, and we, now you're getting into some NCAA stuff. You got to be careful with practices and all that crap. And
yeah,
I'm sitting there busting my ass, and all of a sudden I'm looking at these dudes, and I'm like, how the hell is that guy so tough? I mean, Christ, look at him. Look at him and look at me. Why is he such a beast?
Right.
Oh, I legitimately started doing some homework.
Right.
I went down to the roommates down at the end of the hall in the dorm, and I go into the room, and I'm like, hey, man, can you help me with this algebra, this trigonometry? And there's 5 dudes standing there with their pants around their ankles, and I got introduced to the gas.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, now I see. You cheating bastards. Well, the guy had it for free. He was from Texas. His dad was a Texas oil man, millionaire. We had found out later that he had been in so much trouble that they were hiding him up here. He was our running back, and he was an animal. I mean, it was like, he reminded me a lot of, God, who's that running back? Was it Rath? No, who was that?
Who did he play for?
Well, Cleveland Browns he played for back. He was like a one-hit wonder. Dude, was just stout.
Oh.
It wasn't Rathman. It was...
like how long ago? Era-wise?
It would have been in the 90s. I just saw a thing on him, too, a one-hit wonder. He had a great season, then he just disappeared. But he looked like a bodybuilder, and I'm like, this dude is tough. Holy shit. So I started to... So here's where my first and only experience with some of your, like your issues that you had with painkillers, and Marky was on last week with his issue. I got really lucky because you go, now I start doing that, and I'm running around like I'm invincible. I can punch holes through telephone poles. I am just beating. We would have contests. That's how we paid for a lot of our stuff in college. We had $20 to our name. I started saying, hey, let's go $20 and see who knocks out the most people in this game. And that's how we started getting our money. We were doing like bounty stuff.
Wow.
and it was my goal to win. I had to because I didn't have nothing. I was pissed poor.
Right.
And I'm like, nope. And I won. I won all the time because I would always do. If you were tiptoeing down the sideline and I just ran, 75 yards to chase you down, and then you think that you're just going to step out right before I get there,
Yeah.
no, hell no. You're getting your hold, and I'm going to knock you out. And then I'm going to stand over you and let you know about it, and I'm going to talk to the bench, and I'm going to talk to the fans, I'm going to talk to, well, that was the shit in my body, just making me insane.
Yeah. It's like the program.
And
you were the dude on the program. I put on
that's when the
35 pounds
program
watching
came
you guys lose. I'm sick of losing.
That is when the movie The Program came out, and I started painting my face. I grew my hair long. I got pulled off to the side, and the coaches were talking to me, saying, "What the hell's going on with you?" And I'm like, "Nothing. I'm good."
Yeah, no, everything's good. Dude, I can't even see you with long hair, bro.
Oh, I was super long, and I had it pulled back in the phone, just like Latimer.
Wow.
It was great.
That's so crazy, man. We're getting some good stuff here, guys. This is awesome. Tommy Vardell is the guy you're thinking of, right?
Yes.
From Stanford. Didn't he play at Stanford? Is that where he
Yes.
went to college? Yes. Nice, dude. RSRS with the call on the... And Peyton Hillis. Peyton Hillis, actually,
Peyton
too.
Hillis, that's what I was thinking of.
But
Peyton
they're
Hillis.
both, dude. Vardell was a beast, too. Like, he was a linebacker playing running back. All right, we're interrupting.
Yep.
All right, so you're getting the coaches are telling you you're all flamed out. So what or is there more to it? What brought you to, like, hey, I gotta change. I gotta straighten up.
Well, I had so after a couple months of that, it had gotten to the point where I was just flying around by the seat of my pants, just absolutely insane, a train wreck, just hammering people, just beating the piss out of my body, and I'm sitting in bed one night, and it's just like the program. I mean, you're trying to get your stuff off, and you can't even move, and you're black and blue head to toe.
Right.
And I'm like, holy Christ! Well, one of my my running back from Canada, he ended up leaving during the season to go. He signed with the Toronto Argonauts.
Wow.
Well, he comes in and he's like, "Here, little black kid, my little buddy Stanley, awesome dude." He comes in, he's like, "Quados, man, what's going on?" I go, "Dude," I said, "I'm hurting, man. I need some Advil." He's like, "No, hell no. Here, try this." Well, he gives me a bowl, and I'm like, "Oh, what's this?" I don't know what it is.
Right.
Yeah, try this, man. You go right to sleep. We'll have a couple of them. I'll have a couple with you. I'm like, all right, cool. So we smoke a bowl, and I go to sleep, and I'm like, wow, that was great. Best night's sleep I had in my life. Oh, I didn't realize I was hired to kite.
Right.
So now I'm sitting there. I start smoking some weed all the time to take away the pain. Well, now I'm starting to sleep in. I'm having a hard time getting up in the morning. So now I'm like, well, now what the hell do I do? I try to drink some Mountain Dews. I don't have any energy. And so now another guy, here's what I take before the game. I'm like, what the hell are these things? Oh, here, just take a handful. All right, well, I'm taking speed now.
Wow.
So now I'm on the gas. I'm smoking weed. I'm taking speed uppers and downers and in-betweeners and outsiders. And I'm like, holy shit. So now I'm just a complete mess. And the season's over. We did well. We lost out to go to a bowl game to Vermilion, who ended up sending six guys in their team got drafted in the NFL that year.
Nice.
And we end up having a party. And by this time, I'm a disaster. I am just a loose cannon, no clue what's going on. Because, again, I'm the guy. I'm the man. So I get to do whatever I want, and everybody loves me, and everybody's cool with it. And I'm just a disaster waiting to happen.
Right.
Well, you have all these things going together, and you're having a party. Now you're throw some alcohol in there, and shit hits the fan, and a whole bunch of people got hurt, and we're arrested and in jail, and I'm thinking, holy shit, dude. There was rumor of somebody that may not make it, and I'm like, wow, I think I'm in trouble. Once I sat in a jail cell for a few days and figured it out, I'm like, this ain't good, dude. I got to call my mom.
Right.
So, Mom, I need an attorney. I think I'm in a lot of trouble. And I didn't even know how much trouble I was almost in. I mean, I was almost it got to the point where this kid, it was like a life and death situation where I was going to go to prison for a long time. It was bad. I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. And he made it. He came through. And I had actually told these guys, I said, if we get through this, I'm done. You know what? I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm walking. I ain't hanging out with you guys no more. I need to get the shit out of my body. I need to get this. That was my eye opener. Happened right away. It was like literally the first time I did anything. First time I was introduced to stuff. And I had that experience right there where I didn't have to deal with it like you guys had mentioned that you did. You know, you were hiding it and hiding it and hiding it and figuring out another way. And
for a long time.
I didn't have that chance. It happened right now, and that was it. And I just said, "Is it? You know, when they come and tell you, I ended up with 5 years probation out of the deal, which was a slap on the wrist."
Right.
And I just said, but they said, "You so much as get a speeding ticket, you're gone." Well, guess what? I'm the guy driving 30 miles an hour down the road.
Right. Right.
I wasn't doing nothing.
Making
doing nothing.
Making sure nothing's gonna happen. Wow.
So my eyes opened up immediately, and that was it. I got my second chance after instantly, and I'm done. I ain't doing it no more. I don't like that. I was terrified, absolutely scared to death.
Dude, that's an incredible story. We appreciate you sharing that, brother. Holy crap. Like, I did not even know, like, that much. I mean, we've talked for hours. We've told stories and whatnot, and, like, it's good to hear that. It's good for you to say that. And I guess before we continue on, I just want to say, if there's a message you could tell somebody, a younger kid or even a teenager, late teenager, early 20s, trying to get somewhere in sports, maybe deciding, yeah, juice is maybe my option, or maybe he wants to he's looking to bulk up, whatever. I mean, what do you say? Let's say that's like, whether it's your son or your son's best friend, let's say, down the road as he gets older. What do you tell him if you know that he's thinking about doing this to up his game, to get himself to advance, to be the man, if you will, like you referenced yourself? What would be your message?
I just did it about 2 weeks ago. I was at the gym, and there was a kid in there, 19 years old.
Okay.
And you could tell that he was built. He looked older. I thought he was about 25, 30.
Yeah.
And we were kind of working out right next to each other and stuff, and
yeah.
we were, doing some things, sharing some stuff. You done? Let me know when you're done. Just leave it racked.
Yeah.
I'll take it over. And then he come upstairs and he finally took off his sweatshirt. Wear a sweatshirt for a little bit, just when you get warmed up and stuff and start to sweat, and then you can take your sweatshirt off and you're ready to go. Muscles are loose, everything's good to go. And this kid took his shirt off, and I'm like, good God. And I immediately hit pause on my earbuds, and I said, "Hey, man." I go, "How old are you?" He goes, "I'm only 19. I go, "You competing?" And he goes, "I want to." I go, "What are you on?" He goes, "Oh, I just, no." I go, "Bullshit. What are you on?"
Yeah.
But he had all down his arm, just had all the acne and stuff. And but this kid was just, he was ready to go on stage. And he's 19 years old, and I finally got it out of him. And we had a little talk, and I go, "Dude," I said, "when you're doing that stuff, you're screwing up your body. You're too young." Because there's a certain point when you get older and your body is naturally, your testosterone is naturally going down, and then it kind of becomes a health thing.
Right.
When you're older, when you're in your 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
It's a health thing. You can go get testosterone therapy. That's a common thing. I know a lot of guys that are on testosterone.
Right.
That's not that big of a deal, really.
Right.
When you're young and you do it, and you put that in your body will stop producing it. And your estrogen levels rise, and you get the man boobs.
Yep.
And it just screws up your body, and you need to get those things back in order, and it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen without surgeries, treatments. And I'm like, dude, you're too young. I mean, you got so much testosterone in your body right now, naturally.
Right.
I mean, I'd love to have half of what you got. You
Right.
know?
Right.
I used to be able to look at a weight and just put on 10 pounds of muscle, and now I got to bust ass just to try to maintain. And this kid just looked at me like a deer in headlights because I was giving. I mean, I've studied the stuff.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, I've made I take a lot of supplements,
Mm-hmm.
and I try to create these cocktails with uh, SARMs and all these other different things to try to make, you know, back when Andro in '99, when Andro and Mark McGuire
Yes.
and Sammy Sosa, you
Yes.
bet your butt I was in GNC. I bought the whole shelf of Andro because I took 2 bottles of it, and I'm like, holy crap, this is the real deal.
Yeah.
$29.99? Are you kidding me? I
Right.
call my buddy at GNC and I'm like, how much you got left on the shelf? He's like, 8 bottles. I said, take them off. I'm coming.
Right.
And it was awesome. And I was in my 20s, you know, after my college stuff and that, I started tinkering around with softball because, you know, hey, let's play the old man's game. You know,
Right.
careers are over. The Twins tryout went horrible. I couldn't throw.
Right.
I was so beat up from football. I mean, everything was a mess. I was in trouble. And I started like playing softball just for fun to go drink some beers with my buddy after work and, you know, go to some little, I could always hit. I'm like, oh, this will be cool. Again,
Right.
I'll be looking awesome because I can hit home runs.
Right. Right.
And that turned into I played pro softball for 10 years on the circuit.
Hell yeah.
And it was fun. It was absolutely awesome traveling all over the country, playing in the biggest tournaments. I hit in a lot of home run derbies. And that's when I started doing a lot of charity stuff. Because one of the guys that I met on our team, we were sponsored by Medtronic and a lot of the big companies around.
Yeah.
We had a big budget. We had $50,000-$60,000 budget for our team.
Wow.
And we had a guy on there, Mike Stevenson, who was also affiliate. He's in the team picture for the Timberwolves. He used to do some stuff with the Timberwolves, and he had cerebral palsy.
Okay.
He was in a wheelchair, and he was one of our managers, and he was my buddy. And because we would take him all over the country with us, because my wife's a ER trauma nurse, and a couple of the other guys' wives were nurses, and we would sign him off, and saying that we were responsible, we'd take care of him.
Awesome.
So we would take him with us to Florida and stuff when we go play tournaments, and we'd, you know, go to Milwaukee and North Carolina, Texas, Vegas, all over the country.
That's awesome.
And we started doing some the big cerebral palsy at the Target Center, and we got our sponsors involved and all that stuff, and we raised huge money.
Wow.
We would cut in. I started doing some. I started a charity home run derby, which was awesome. We were sponsored by Worth and stuff.
Wow.
And it was really cool. So I kind of figured out after my little mishap in college,
Mm-hmm.
I figured out there's got to be something that I can do still. I can still play ball. I can still do something. But now I got to do something good. I got to try to help people. I got to figure it out. I can't be a jackass my whole life. You know, even though it was just a short time that I was jackass, and it's great that it happened early and it worked out.
Right.
But when I started doing these home run derbies and stuff, it like got even bigger, and I was like, holy Christ, you know why? But it was the cerebral palsy community would come and support us.
Right.
Because we were supporting them, and it turned out, I mean, we'd have a home run derby, and there'd be 5,000 people there. I mean, it was like a party. I mean, it was just great. They'd be playing music. We'd do them at nighttime, so it was even a bigger event, and it was just crazy. It was awesome.
Wow.
And I'd get done hitting, and I'd give the kid a bat. You know, here's my bat that I just won this derby with, and we would take our entry fee money. And I said, let's start doubling the entry fees. Instead of $50, let's make it $100. And we're going to eliminate some guys that shouldn't be in it so we can put on a good show. And let's take that other half of the money, and we're going to do like a little fantasy draft. I'm going to go pick a kid, you know, little Billy over here.
Yeah.
and he's going to be my guy, or we'll let them pick.
Nice.
And whoever wins will donate that half of the money in that kid's name to one of his charities or something that he wants to do. And we got all our sponsors on board. It was awesome. We'd hand out batting gloves. I'd get cases and cases of batting gloves, and I'd just give them to the kids. And they're like, well, I can't play baseball. I'm like, but little man, I said, you can put them on your gloves or put them on your hands, and you can not get your blisters on your wheelchair anymore when you're trying to wheel. Oh, my God, well, what a great idea. Oh, Dad, look.
Right?
And that's when I started seeing, there was one of the dads that came up to me, and he goes, this is unbelievable. You're amazing. He's, a grown man bawling. And I'm like, I go, dude, it's okay. He goes, no, it's not. He goes, nobody's ever done this for us. And then I started realizing, I'm like, holy shit, this is bigger and better.
Right.
This is a good thing.
Right. And you're man, just an awesome story so far. And you are one of the guys, like, hobby side too, very unselfish, loves to get involved in racks, loves to do giveaways, loves to say, hey, let's give some away, or let's do this for somebody. Before we get into, I know you got some stuff that's kind of in that same realm, so it's a great time to segue into that, but let's not go there quite yet. I want to know, when did you get back into the hobby? When was it that Justin Quados got back into the hobby? Because there had to have been a time, when you were younger, you probably were just like us, especially when you're going through your crazy, Latimer years and all that, where you took a break or you weren't really on the card thing at all. You were probably like, those things are stupid. Those are for geeks or nerds, like we all did, right? And now we're all back here. But when did Quados come back to the hobby?
That was 2018.
Okay.
Update. 2018 update. It was, so I was training again. I've always wanted to try to do a show, and every time it gets to that time, I get injured or something happens. It's, my body's just not made to be pushing the weight that I could push.
Right.
And it was 2018, so I had my shoulder. I had a full-blown, I was bench pressing and literally like tore my arm off my body. Everything just exploded. So I had my shoulder surgery in September 2018. And I'm sitting in the chair because I ruptured my bicep tendon, and all my rotators and everything was torn. I tore my trap up here in the AC joint, and I tore my labrum. So I had five anchors I got in my shoulder right now, and I had like 268 stitches to get these. Your rotator's like this. Well, not only did I tear it, but then I delaminated it. So they put an anchor in there, and then they just start stitching it and pull it all back together.
Wow.
So I'm in a sling for almost 4 months, just sitting there.
Right.
And you had to sleep in a chair, and I'm like, well, this sucks.
Right.
What the hell am I going to do now? I'm just sitting in a chair. And it hurt to even breathe, dude. It was horrible. And because of my previous experience, I wasn't taking my pain meds. I'm too scared of it. I don't want to take them. I'm not monkeying around with that shit.
Don't blame you.
So I just was taking just ibuprofen and Tylenol, rotating it, ice packs. I'd have a couple stiff cocktails to try to sleep the night through. And I grabbed my phone one day and I hit YouTube because I'm going to start watching some bodybuilding videos or some football highlights or whatever. And I saw Jabs.
Oh, okay, yep.
And I'm like, what the hell? This guy's opening cards. So then I'm like, I got some cards somewhere, I think. I had a 5,000 count box. I'm digging out and go, telling my wife, hey, try to reach out up there. See if there's a card. See if my cards are in there. And then it started. They were opening up. He was opening up. Update, 2018 update. We got to look for Acuna. We got to look for Shohei. And I'm like, damn. So my wife's going to the store to get some stuff, and I'm like, hey, look for some of those update cards.
Yeah.
And she found them, and then I just started opening, ripping packs.
So even though, like, 2018 update kind of brought your your love back, having that shoulder surgery and whatnot. You have a real love. Your real heart in the hobby is in vintage, right?
Yep.
So why is Justin Quados Corner so attached to more of the vintage side than the newer current side?
That was my dad. You know, like I said, he was an encyclopedia. He knew everything about any player, just crazy. You could just, put your hand in a million cards and grab out a card and just tell him the guy's name, and
Mm-hmm.
he'll give you his whole career stats, life.
Wow.
He'll tell you everything. And he'll tell you
Wow.
what college he went to and what he did in college. I mean, it's crazy.
Wow.
And
Wow.
and when I was about, I think I was like 13 years old, so it would have been 86. Yeah, 86. I He comes home and he says, "Hey, look at this card. It was a 68 Clemente. Bought it for $20." And he goes, "This guy right here." And he'd start telling me these stories. And
Wow.
it fascinated me. I'm like, in the off season, this guy does all this charity work and he's taking care of his home country and he's doing this, and then and then he died, and I'm like, holy cow, that's awesome.
That is
And
awesome.
then he found me a 56 Warren Spawn,
Wow.
and he's like, here's another one. Here's a story. This guy did this, and he was in the and I'm like, holy balls. Just like the History Channel.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
like, these cards are old. Back then they were only 30 years old.
Right.
So I'm like, this is really cool.
Yes.
The heck with this new stuff. So then
So
I had actually stopped collecting in 87, 88 when I
yeah.
started getting hot and heavy with sports, and
Yep. So you kind of missed the junk wax era, which is not a bad thing
I
either.
did miss the junk
Yeah.
wax era.
Yeah. Which
I was
isn't a
done
bad
before
thing.
that.
So I want to kind of dive into something here. We're getting close to an hour. We're getting close. We're getting close. Not that we have to be an hour. We try to keep it around an hour, but we got some important stuff to still touch on. You added 2 players to your current PC like really not too long ago, and I'm gonna name the 2 players. It's Kurt Gibson and it's Dave Parker. Okay.
I did.
Why was Kurt Gibson and Dave Parker added to Quados Corner's Justin's PC?
So going back to my charity stuff with cerebral palsy, Mike passed away 12 years ago, and 11 years ago, and all that stuff. I had kind of hung it up from playing ball anymore. I was getting old. I was starting to get some injuries and nothing major, but it was time to hang it up. I'm getting too old,
Right.
and I didn't really have anything to do. My dad was getting sick. He had Parkinson's disease from Vietnam, so I started to do some stuff with the VAs and the veterans. That's why a lot of my stuff is veteran orientated. And um, when we when he so my dad passed away last June from complications of Parkinson's. And so now that I've gotten him taken care of, got him his disability, which was just a complete pain in the ass. The battles and the fighting and just the stupid stuff that how we don't take care of our veterans. It absolutely drives me insane. And now that we're doing the Parkinson's thing, when my dad passed away, I had nothing else to do. I didn't do veteran stuff no more. And I'm careful with what I do because I'm not interested in supporting a charity where the CEO is making $30 million a year and the actual charity is getting, pennies on the dollar.
Right.
I don't do that stuff.
Right.
If they're not getting, 80, 90%, I ain't doing it. I don't care what it is. I stopped buying Girl Scout cookies after I found this stuff out.
Right.
And so now I'm thinking, when my dad passed away, I'm thinking, Christ, now I got to do something with Parkinson's. I got to try to figure this out. And it was kind of weird because I joined Twitter, and I was kind of there was some YouTube drama. That's why I haven't been on YouTube much. I want to take a break.
Mm-hmm.
And I had joined Twitter and met a couple guys on there, Heavy J Studios. And he's like, hey, you know, buy this card and make the donation to the Dave Parker Foundation. I'm like, what the hell? So I looked it up, and I'm like, what's he doing? What's this guy doing?
Right.
And then I look, and I'm like, shit, Dave Parker, he's got Parkinson's disease. So I'm like, huh. And then I heard about Kirk Gibson, and I'm like, damn. So I emailed Dave Parker, just in a whim, you know, just took a chance. I emailed him and I said, hey, I'll give him a story with my dad, and I said, I'm interested. I said, I have a new focus, and I want to focus on Parkinson's and see what I can do to help. Here, and I'll be a son of a bitch. The next morning, I threw this email out at like 9:30 at night, thinking, you know, whatever.
Right.
It was like 8:30 in the morning. It was around 12 hours later. My phone rings, and it's Doug King. And Doug King runs the Dave Parker Foundation. And he's like, hey, Justin, I got your email. You got a minute? And I'm like, yeah. Wow, you kind of caught me off guard here. I didn't expect you to call me.
Right.
And he's like, well, I got your email, and you said you kind of got a plan. What's your plan? And I talked to him for like an hour. And I said, you know, here's what I'm thinking. I told him the story, and I said, I want to do something. I want to help Parkinson's. And this is great because you know, who doesn't know Dave Parker, the Cobra? You know, he's one of the great 70s players, you know, vintage guy. And I remember watching him play. And I'm like, I think I can help. What's your plan? I told him my plan. He's like, get him out to me. We'll try this. We'll try to do something here. And I'm like, sweet. Immediately embraced it. I at the same time, I emailed Kirk Gibson Foundation, and I kind of wrote it off.
Yeah.
But 2 days ago, I got a phone call from this Michelle, and she's like, Justin, I'm so sorry. Your email went to my spam, and I just saw it.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow. She goes, you emailed me like 6 times. And so now I'm talking to the Kirk Gibson Foundation, and they've got some different laws. And he's based out of Michigan, but he does a lot of stuff in California with the Dodgers still. So they got to check on licensing stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And Kirk's a little more into licensing with the MLB. So she said, I got to do some homework, but Dave Parker hooked it up, and I'm going to I've got the stuff here. I've got it back.
Yeah,
and
I've seen it. I've personally seen it too. He sent me photos of it all. So, yep.
As soon as I get my stuff together, hopefully here in the next 3 weeks or so, I'm going to be doing an auction, and I've got all this Dave Parker autographed 30 cards for me, and I'm going to be doing some sort of rack or some sort of auction, some sort of something. And I got to dig. That's why I've been getting rid of so much stuff. I got to thin out my stuff, see what I want to put in, see what I want to do, and get it ready. And I want to make a donation in my dad's name to the foundation, and then hopefully it keeps going from there. So I told him, you know, let's just do this little trial run and see how it goes. Yeah. And we'll go from there. And he's like, absolutely, get him out to me. And Parker jumped on it.
That's awesome.
He jumped on it immediately. Haven't got to talk to him yet, though. I'm waiting for that day.
Right. Well, maybe that'll probably come right after you do whatever you do, and you go, all right, well, here you go, Mr. Parker and whoever else. Here's some money we raised for the foundation. And then hopefully Dave would be. You would think he's the kind of guy that would probably reach out. You know, somebody who helps the foundation, who's about helping.
Doug did tell me that Dave would probably. I'm hoping it works out this way. Doug told me that Dave would probably 99% sure be willing to do exactly what we're doing right now.
That'd be cool.
Into the stream, maybe kick off the auction.
That'd be really cool.
Or maybe do a little bit of an interview beforehand, and then have him kick off the auction. So that'll be awesome. I mean, if I can get, instead of you or I on the screen right now, Dave Parker, the Cobra standing there kicking it off. I mean, how sweet would that be?
It'd be awesome, man. That'd be really, really awesome. Somebody said here, Top should, RS said, Top should bring back Kurt Gibson for the legends they include in the current sets, or even archives, retired players. Jim F. also put a comment in there, Dave Parker, an A's legend who's underrated. Definitely underrated. So, guys, we have that to look forward to from Quados. Again, Quados just doing Quados things, wanting to be that guy in the hobby, unselfish, really just trying to make an impact, stay positive, keep things positive. Just been sitting in the background at work, loved the interview, can't wait to meet Quados when I head to Minnesota, Mr. Ball said. That's awesome. Guys, I'm going to let him have kind of a wrap-up and final words and everything, but before I do, because I'm going to kind of, we'll say our byes after he wraps everything up, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Also, guys, we talked about doing a giveaway for this. Instead of us doing it right now, live, or while we're on, let's do it this way. You guys are all hearing it now, so the people that are here are going to be the ones to know what to do for sure. Anybody who comments after the video is uploaded, so if you guys comment once it's uploaded, what you liked about the interview, whatever you guys want to say, just leave a comment. We will random the people or take the people on the list, and we'll figure something out, and we'll do some type of giveaway. Not saying everybody's going to win something, but you have a shot at winning something. So remember that. Comment after it's uploaded to get your shot at me and Quados. We'll work out a giveaway here for this because we said we would, but we don't want to do it during the interview. So I want to leave it to you. This has been your hour. This has been your show, Justin, my man, Quados Corner. Wrap it up. You can take as much time as you want, but wrap it up. What else would you like to say? What else would you like to share?
The only thing I don't ever ask for anything. I am going to ask for the Dave Parker auction. If you have anything that you'd like to donate, that'd be great. I'm not keeping a penny of anything. Every cent made is going to be donated in my dad's name to the Dave Parker Foundation.
Yeah.
And I have another thing I do if any of you are on Twitter, which I know I see a lot of guys that are on Twitter. I do a lot of veteran stuff. I got a lot of vets in my family. My dad was a vet. I have a pinned tweet, and if you can send a vet a care package for Christmas. It could be 1 card, 50 cards, 100, I don't care. DM me a picture, and there's some prizes. We got Heavy J Studios has thrown in another thing. I got an 86 update set we're going to give away. I got a 69 Mickey Mantle checklist we're going to give away. Nice shape. So if nobody's got a Mickey Mantle card, I mean, I don't care if Mickey Mantle's on a roll of toilet paper. It's awesome.
Right.
And then Heavy J Studios put in a nice Bo Jackson thing that he's doing a whole lot. So we've got a couple prizes there, and putting 1 card in an envelope. I sent out 13 care packages or racks on Veterans Day, and it absolutely blew my mind. I took the little index card, and all I wrote was, Rodolfo, thanks for your service, man. Happy Veterans Day. Appreciate it. Quados Corner. I got messages from guys, and this, it kind of bothered me, but it didn't. I guess, I don't know. These guys would say, nobody's ever done nothing like that for me. And a few of the guys, I didn't have anything for. I had like 1 card. 1 card, and the dude's like, this is the greatest thing I've ever gotten. I've never got anything before, and the letter that you wrote me is going in my binder too. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, holy shit. How can that be that important? But it is.
Mm-hmm.
So now I decided I'm going to do another one for Christmas, do the care package, and I got a couple extra things. Another guy jumped on board, so that's awesome. And hopefully it turns into something. I'm going to start doing it every year.
Mm-hmm.
Veterans Day and Christmas, I'm going to start doing it every year.
Eloy's,
I have mad respect for my vets.
A lot of people saying much respect. Eloy said, awesome. I've lived on military bases. Great work, Quados. So that's awesome from Eloy the GOAT. So awesome, awesome. Anything else, brother?
Does anybody have? I'm on my phone right now. I don't know if.
Well, if you want, I can read too, because I
Are
got
you able
load
to?
up.
Are you able to share my Twitter?
So
Twitter handle.
so listen, I was gonna say that before I hit off on the live, but his Twitter and his YouTube links are in the description below the paragraph on the description. So yeah, all his information for social media, Twitter and then YouTube, both links are there. You guys make sure you do get over there. Make sure you do hit him up. Make sure you also sub his YouTube because he will be doing stuff again. That's probably where the Dave Parker auction will be happening. I mean, there's things that he's gonna start getting back to it eventually. So again, hit both of those. Get to both of those. Anybody else got anything? Someone else it's nice to put faces on names in chat. That's why we do this, man. That's why we do this, man. For sure, especially if you can't be around or can't make... Balls also just dropped your Twitter link in the chat as well, so they can click on it in the chat too. So
where Eloy is in there. Hey Eloy, I was gonna do Brovember, but since I'm so gray here, it just you can see the stash anyway.
Right?
I wish K-Dub was in here.
Right? Yeah, K-Dub. I think Eloy needs to make it on an episode of this at some point.
Oh yeah.
He's got a story. He's got stories to tell us. He's got his basketball days and other things that he can tell us. So a lot of respect. I tell my students they're chrome highlights. They're chrome highlights, he says.
Right.
He tells the students
Platinum.
they're chrome highlights. Platinum, that's right.
Platinum, baby. It's a Platinum 101.
All right, guys. Do you got, Quados, you got anything else, man? I'm sure we all got stuff we got to get run to with Thanksgiving coming up again. I want to thank Quados, Justin, for joining. Awesome story. Some stuff that I didn't even know that I got to hear tonight, and I've had so many long talks with him. So it's always cool to get something new that I get to even hear from the guests that I don't know. So I appreciate you sharing all that. Again, hopefully this will touch somebody. Hopefully, Shizzler just came in, your mortgage hunter, with a couple fire emojis. 3 fire emojis. I don't know what he's smoking over there. He's firing up trees or something, right? I don't know. But I appreciate you, my man. Thanks for being on In Depth. Guys, have a happy Thanksgiving. I'll be live tomorrow morning, probably 9 a.m. And until next time, we appreciate you. We love you. Keep it fun. Keep it positive.